One, two, three.
Are you ready? Well, here we go.
I'm Lisa Mitzel, and this is Condition to Win. Well, hello, everyone. I'm so glad you're here. Today, we're talking about a very important topic in sports that require flipping and twisting. This is a critical topic because the athlete's mental health and wellness is definitely related to whenever kids get nervous, anxious, afraid, and especially when they get mental blocks. So, today we're talking about nerves, fear, and mental blocks. Yay! Because it happens in pretty much every single gymnastics club. The struggles are real and frustrating for the athletes. And yet, the challenges of fear and mental blocks are a normal part of gymnastics. They're a normal part of tumbling and trampoline and acro, cheer, dance. The list goes on. Many sports where athletes flip and twist. So, a big shout out to coaches. I am with you. I got you. I know how tough it is. And for parents, I hear from many of you about the confusion and what's going on at the gym. You're wondering what's happening. How do you talk to the coaches? How do you help your gymnasts? Plus, the kids, they don't know how to talk about their fears. It can feel disarming when they get a mental block. It's scary. They're intimidated by their coach and they feel lost. Like, who is this that is so scared? This doesn't feel like me. It's a very foreign feeling. Gymnastics coaches, you play a vital role in the lives of these young kids because you are helping them to build their confidence, learn how to be motivated, focused, and resilient. And the most important thing is nurturing the whole child development and mental and emotional well-being. These young kids need you, and they are so lucky to have you. And I think one of the greatest gifts we have is feeling needed, wanted, and feeling like we can make a difference in the lives of these young athletes. So I'm here for you, and I hope today you're going to gain a lot of really good information. Okay, let's take a moment for our sponsor. Condition to Win is sponsored by Zen Tiger Mind, a human-centered company providing mental training and mental health products and curriculum for coaches and for child development programs and to help your athlete perform better. The word of the day is verbal first aid. Verbal first aid includes skillfully selected words, the timing, and the tone of voice, which can help put your child at ease and has the power to speed up recovery. An example is to state what happened. You see that they fell or that they feel too afraid to do a skill. Validate their feeling or their injury. I see that you look very tense and nervous. And then say to them, let's sit still for a moment and take some deep breaths together. And then state that you are clear and sure that everything will be okay. I will take care of you. We'll take it one step at a time. When you use verbal first aid, you are clarifying for the child what has happened, where they are now, and that you will help them get better and that everything will be okay. One of the most common questions I get is, why did my daughter get this mental block? It came out of nowhere. And I understand completely. Just as a note, I experienced acute mental blocks when I was a gymnast, when I was a teenager, and I almost quit gymnastics. I was crying every day for a month, and my coaches didn't know how to help me. And by the grace of God, a sports psychologist was there. All of a sudden, somebody introduced us and he was there. And I was so lucky because back then nobody knew what sports psychology was. My mental block started with a crash. I opened up early on a double back. I got lost in the air. I got the quote unquote twisties. And then I crashed on the back of my head and my knee slugged me in the head. So I had a very traumatic experience tumbling, getting lost in the air, and then crashing. Many kids, all of a sudden, for no reason, it seems, they all of a sudden can't go for a skill. Over the period of a week, they may start to struggle a little bit on day one, and day two, it gets worse, and day three, and et cetera, it gets worse and worse. So sometimes it happens over the course of a week or two. The bottom line is the biggest reason why kids get mental blocks when it wasn't just an actual crash or fall from the equipment, the reason it comes out of nowhere is because of stress. Here is a list of reasons why kids get so stressed and then a mental block develops. And let me just make it clear that when it seems like a mental block comes out of nowhere, the reason is 99% of the time it's stress. Stress from learning skills fast, stress from advancing to higher levels quickly, maybe even skipping a level, high expectations from coaches or parents, pressure to do skills, pressure to perform better. Um, Sometimes it can be threats. You're not going to move up unless you get this skill. It could be teasing or bullying. There's all kinds of reasons, but the bottom line is stress. I encourage coaches and parents, if you want to reduce mental blocks, think about how you're talking to your athlete. Are you asking them how they feel? And are you waiting for an answer? Are you reading their body language? Are you giving them choices and saying, it's your choice? You don't have to do it if you're feeling scared. Or are you applying pressure? Do they feel like they have a choice? Check in with them. Maybe you don't realize that they feel they don't have a choice. When you give kids autonomy and they have control over doing a skill or not doing a skill, and they feel supported in their choice, that absolutely will help reduce stress, nerves, and fear. Another tip is if it doesn't feel positive, focused, and fun while you're working together, if it feels like there's resistance and you don't understand and you're starting to feel frustrated, that's a signal for you because the child is probably very uncomfortable and not ready in that moment to do a skill or take a risk or take a turn, whatever you're trying to get them to do. They are not ready in that moment. And let me add, kids don't refuse to do gymnastics. They want to do gymnastics, but they have normal fears and they need your help. If they're distracted, that's another mask for not feeling comfortable. I was in an elevator at a hotel near a competition, and a coach walked into the elevator flustered and upset. She had just finished a call on her cell phone and she blurted out, "My gymnast refuses to jump to the high bar." Well, I didn't say anything. It was clear to me that the coach had made up her mind that the child was a problem and that the child was making her life difficult. I didn't know the coach, but I definitely felt her frustration. And maybe later she changed her thoughts and realized that the child just needed more of her patience and some simple drills to feel better. The problem is, as adults, we don't realize that our emotions directly affect our athletes. We forget how important emotions are and that we need to check in with the kids because they really are the co-pilots in the work. Their thoughts and feelings matter. But often we are on a schedule and we have expectations to keep making progress and we want to keep them motivated and keep going and, keep that energy up. And then we feel some resistance and we don't understand. So just take a moment, because what is most important is to step away from your ego, because you don't have control of every child. You don't have control of anything but yourself. And the kids' mental health is more important. We don't want them to feel scared and suffer. So let's get into the steps, how to reduce mental blocks. Step one is to educate the kids and yourself on noticing the warning signs of nerves and fear. Sit down together and say, we're going to become aware of the signs of nervousness and fear. What signs do you experience? When does it occur? You can hand them a list and they can circle the ones that they notice, and they can learn to understand their body's reaction to nervous thoughts and fearful moments. Here is the list. Muscles tense up, stomach aches badly, butterflies, hair on arms and neck stand up, goosebumps, chills, sweaty hands or feet. Mind is confused, worried, panicky. Sudden images of worst possible scenario. Emotions feel overwhelming. Tears come, not able to talk or perform. Sometimes they have to throw up or go to the bathroom a lot. So when they notice these signs, now they can take the next step. After the kids understand that they're going to notice their body's reaction to nervousness and fear, then we go to step two. And step two is talking to the self and shifting out of fear. How do you do it? Well, the first step is to say, I notice I'm feeling scared. I notice I'm feeling very uncomfortable. Okay, it's okay. Nothing's wrong with me. This is normal. Everyone experiences fear. Everybody gets nervous. I'm not alone. Pause. I will let go of the skill, or I will let go of the outcome. I can slow down. I can take a step back. I can shift my thoughts to my breath and my body. I can take deep breaths and connect to my muscles relaxing. I will get calm. I can visualize. I can recall when I did a skill well. I can do something simple that makes me feel safe. I can repeat my best technique and a mental script in my mind. I can get reassurance from a coach or a teammate. All of these are steps in shifting out of fear, out of nervousness, and feeling more in control. I trust my body's ability. I trust myself. And that is really, really huge, is for kids to be able to accept that nervousness and fear will come, and then they can shift into feeling calm and in control, slowing down, and taking deep breaths. So we want to help the kids pay close attention to their nerves, the signs of the nerves and fear, and then how to slow down and take some deep breaths and relax their muscles and talk to themselves in a very kind way. And as soon as you are supportive and you're kind and caring, they will usually open up and say something. They may even start to cry a little bit, and that is okay. Crying is a release of tension, and that actually releases toxins from their body, and it's a really healthy thing to do. So it's very appropriate when a child is afraid to do a skill that they start to cry. And just remind them it's normal to feel afraid, and then you'll just take it one step at a time. Now I'm going to give you some tools to actually help with the mental blocks. First of all, you always want to teach your athletes to say to themselves, I will pay attention to my thoughts. I will focus on myself. I will take a breath when I feel tense. When you're helping a child work through any kind of scary trick or a mental block, first of all, they need to feel safe. So if they're not ready for a certain stage or progression and they do feel nervous or afraid, go back to something simpler, because every single time they feel nervous or afraid, if they continue to do that, then that feeling becomes familiar and it also becomes a pattern. So if your child is constantly feeling nervous or afraid before they go to the gym, when they're at the gym, afterwards, they're still feeling nervous that they didn't get a skill, now we're creating a pattern of nerves and fear. So when we teach them to pay attention to their thoughts and feelings and focusing on themselves, we also want them to teach themselves to get to a safe place. We can't read their minds. We can maybe see their body language. We can listen to their words, but kids are not going to articulate very well what they're actually thinking and feeling, which I had said before. What we want to do is we want to teach them to feel safe. The following is a pattern of tools that you can keep repeating to create a controllable experience. Kids want to feel safe and in control. Safe and in control. Say it with me. Safe and in control. So the first is to breathe deeply and relax the muscles, and then positive self-talk. Everything is okay. I slow down. I'll take it one step at a time. And then recall or visualize positive positions and movements that they can do easily. For instance, if they can do a bridge in gymnastics from a lying down position, they lie down, they place their feet by their bottom, they turn their hands over, and then they push up into a back bend or a bridge. Have them notice what they feel and see as they're doing it and holding the position. Do they see the ceiling when they're lying down on their back? And then when they push up, do they see a wall? And then do they see their hands in the floor when they're upside down? Teach them to notice what they see. And then if they can do a back walkover or at least stand and do a bridge, tell them to notice what they see in front of them. Tell them to look up to the ceiling and get familiar with the ceiling. And then as they arch back and then touch their hands on the floor, there's probably a blur of the wall that as they were arching back that kind of passed through their vision. And then they touch their hands on the floor. So grounding the gymnast in what they see is pivotal to their brain in feeling safe. I know where I am. I see the wall in front of me. I know where I am. I see the ceiling above me. I know where I am. I reach back and I see the floor. It absolutely is imperative that we teach them to pay attention to what they see. Then they can recall in their mind doing the bridge safely from a lying down position and pushing up into an arch and feeling upside down. And then they can recall from a standing position, looking forward, looking upward, and then arching back and touching the floor and doing it safely. So those are just two examples of what they could actually recall and then visualize. If you can teach them to do it in slow motion, the best way to do that is to show them a sketch or a drawing of a stick person doing each position of going into a back bend or a bridge. If they're at a higher level, you can show different images or sketches of the stick person doing a back walkover and then maybe a back handspring. Usually there's somewhere between 4 and 6 positions in each one of these skills, sometimes 7, but usually 5 or 6. And the kids can then now predict with their mind one position at a time. For instance, for a back walkover, they stand on one foot with the other foot pointed, arms up. They may be looking down at the floor. Have them focus on the floor for 2 counts, 1, 2. Then with their arms still in that position, have them look at the wall in front of them and count, 1, 2. Then have them look up to the ceiling and count, 1, 2. So that's 3 positions right there that they're just moving their eyes and their head. They're looking down, they're looking forward, they're looking up. Then they can arch back halfway and you can hold them. If you are the coach, you can hold them in a half arch. The first foot will come off the ground a little bit, and you can hold them in that position for 2 counts where they can see the floor. Their arms and hands are reaching to the floor, but they're not touching it. Hold them in a still position and count 1, 2, so that they know what that feels like, being halfway into the back walkover. And then they can go all the way down and touch their hands, and one leg is up in the air, and then they can kick over into the split position so that they're in a handstand with their legs split, and count 1, 2. And then they can step down and go into a lever position and count 1, 2, and then stand up all the way into a finish position, 1, 2. So each of those positions can be drawn as a stick person, and the child can learn how to draw each of those positions. And like I said, what they're doing is they're learning how to break down a skill. They're learning how to focus on what they see in each position. And then they're learning how to predict exactly how that skill will go one step at a time, one position at a time. This is a way that you can prevent mental blocks and then also work through a mental block. You are teaching them to breathe before each turn and to relax their muscles. You're teaching them to use positive self-talk. I am calm. I'm in control. I am safe. I slow down. I take it one step at a time. I can do this. So you teach them how to use these phrases very simply, repeating it to themselves, and then they recall doing a skill safely, something that they can do easily, like the bridge, or maybe it's a handstand, or maybe it's a cartwheel. Have them sketch it out, a stick person doing each position, and they can write a script for each position. For the back walkover, I would say prepare, look up, arch back, and that's when they're in the half arch position, and then touch their hands and go into a split position. Now they're in the handstand with a split, and I would just call that split. And then step down to lever and just call that lever, and then all the way up to a finish. One of the most common questions when I work with gymnasts, parents ask, how long will this take? When will I know that the mental block is going away? Some kids, depending on how intensely afraid they are, how long the mental block has been going on, it can take maybe 8 weeks, but it can also take up to 6 months. It also depends on how supportive the coaches are. Some gyms, they don't talk about or refer anybody to a mental training coach like myself. They don't talk about mental skills or mental health. So at those gyms, it probably is going to be harder to overcome a mental block. If parents have high expectations or an urgency and they want their child to get their skills back quickly, that's another source of pressure. So wherever there is a disconnection to mental skills or mental training or high expectations for kids to get over it fast, that is going to make it harder and take longer for the child. There's all kinds of situations. I work with kids who have mental blocks on every event in gymnastics and also in other sports. I think the most important thing that we can do for kids is to say, it's okay, it's normal. It is. and that nothing is wrong with them. Being scared is part of sports, but it shouldn't be a pattern. That's what I want you to know. They should not be nervous and afraid all the time, because what that leads to is constant tension, worry. They start to get anxious. And then when they have anxiety, that can easily go into depression. And then the worst of all would be any kind of I have no value, I'm nothing, I'm nobody. So it's very, very important that we take care of these kids early on and that we support them, that we normalize it, and that we help them with a lot of patience and kindness. And now for your consideration. I love playing games with the gymnasts to help them increase concentration, also increase confidence through visual exercises and awareness in the air. My favorite is called the now game. With the gymnast jumping on the trampoline, I say now as the gymnast does a split jump or a straddle jump, a front tuck or a back tuck, could be a front handspring or a back handspring. They pay close attention and tell me what they saw and their body position when I said now. And again, this really can be fun and it teaches them how to increase their awareness in the air, in what they see and feel. And this definitely helps them to overcome mental blocks. Parents, I think it's really, really hard on you because it can feel like everything is out of your control. But how to talk to your child? Be compassionate and patient, but also be very clear that you will find a way and you will get the help that they need. That is very important to be reassuring. When talking with coaches, please don't text because anything that is sensitive or has emotions, especially about fears and mental blocks, it's important to talk in person, or the next best thing would be Zoom. The last option would be a phone call. And always appreciate that the coach is trying their best. The healthiest perspective on mental blocks is that they are an opportunity to learn and practice and master mental skills. It's also an opportunity to improve your self-awareness and the skill of believing that everything will be okay. It just takes time and a good mental trainer and lots of mental practice. That's it. For home or at the gym, you can purchase and use the Mental Power Station by Zen Tiger Mind. And that equipment is very fun and has instructions and cute animals on it. And it's a great tool for the kids to practice their mental exercises. I believe everyone can overcome a mental block with the right support and guidance. If I can support you in any way, reach out to me. My contact information is in the show notes. You guys are awesome. I'm sending you all positive vibes and all the blessings. Well, that's the show. I'm Lisa Mitzel. I'm honored you chose to listen in. Check the show notes for information. Share your thoughts in the comments. Give us a positive rating if you enjoyed it, and please subscribe. Okay, my friends, this is your journey to grow and learn and guide yourself to your own transformation. I am sending you good vibes, deep breaths, and peace.